What's up, guys, and welcome back to the next episode of the Cocktail Countdown here at the Bartender Hideout. Today we are at episode number 21, and we are kicking it French today. We will be looking at the cocktail French 75, which is a classic in and of its own, of course, according to Drinks International at least, because that's the list that we're looking at in these episodes. The top 50 of the most popular drinks of 2020. As you guys know, for all the history, I'm not doing that myself anymore. We have a special guest for that, so Uncle Bob will be showing you how that is done. And after that, I will be showing you how to make it, and I'll be sipping it, so to tell you guys what I think of the cocktail. But first, let's kick it over to Uncle Bob. Hello and welcome back to Storytime with Uncle Bob. I hear we will be talking about the French 75 today, which is actually a really interesting story. The French 75 was created back in 1950. I believe it was in a New York bar in Paris. But the first written mention of the 75, as it was called back in the day, was actually in Harry's ABC of Mixing Cocktails back in 1922. But a little side note with that is that it was nowhere near the French 75 that we know of nowadays. Back then it had, or in the written mention, it had Calvados, it had Absinthe and Grenadine. Nowadays it's in the original form, and that was first written down in Here's How by Judge Jr. And then after that, 3 years later, it was more popularized by the Savoy Cocktail Book, which by now you should all know is by Harry Craddock. Another thing is with this French 75 that it is very similar to the Tom Collins, but I'm sure I'll be telling you guys another story about that later on. I believe this cocktail is actually very famous since it's a movie star. It made an appearance in Casablanca, the movie. Also, it was referenced in 2 of John Wayne's movies, which, yeah, as I said, makes it a movie superstar. But then again, the name French 75, I see you guys wondering, where does this come from? So, let Uncle Bob tell. Apparently, this drink had such a kick when you put all these ingredients together that it was often resembled to the French 75mm field gun. And obviously, it's a bit canon, and that name will definitely stick. So that's where the name French 75 came from. And that's a little bit of the history and story time with Uncle Bob. But I'm sure Koen has more to tell you guys, so let's throw you over to him. Hi there, welcome back. Okay, so let's get going with this French 75. I'm gonna grab my shaker and I'm gonna prepare my glass. I don't need to cool it or anything. We don't generally do that with these champagne flutes. So with this one, it's actually a pretty easy one. As Uncle Bob might have mentioned, it's very similar to the Tom Collins, which I think will be coming up later in this episode, or in this list at least. So you might keep an eye out for that one, and you can compare the two here. But we'll start off with our gin. So I'm gonna start off by adding 45 milliliters of gin, which is around about 1.5 ounces of gin. I'm assuming you'll definitely have it pop up on the screen somewhere, but around about there somewhere. Then I'm going to be adding just a dash, or around 10 milliliters of sugar syrup. So just simple syrup just goes. There we go. And then also we want to add some freshly squeezed lemon juice. So I have that right here. And we'll be adding 15 milliliters of that, or 1/2 ounce. So there we go. and that is the ingredients that we want to shake first are in here. So we'll do that, give it a quick shake. Obviously add some ice. There we go. Give it a tap so it's nice and closed, and give it a good shake. There we go. And whoop. Then we can just add this to our glass already. There we go. And then as a final touch, we're going to be adding a Prosecco. You can use champagne. I think Prosecco works just as fine and doesn't really break the bank, so I figured the champagne or a Prosecco would do a little bit better in this case. And we're just gonna top the glass up, which it will probably come down to about between 70 and 80 milliliters that we're gonna be adding. But obviously that depends as well on the size of glass that you have. If you have a bigger champagne flute or a smaller champagne flute, it's obviously gonna be a little bit different there. Okay, and as a garnish, then we'll be having a lemon zest. So cut that and give it a go. And then give it that nice little swirl around it. Whoop. Make it look pretty. And there we go. It's gonna sink for sure. But yeah, there we go, guys. Super simple, super easy, super quick. Your French 75. Okay, so let's have a taste. Yeah, that's for me. That's surprisingly fresh. Or well, actually, I say surprisingly, but looking at the ingredients, it definitely works. I think that with the sugar, it's not overly sweet, so that really balances out nicely. And it's just enough lemon juice in there that it doesn't overpower. Also, obviously, with the lemon zest, it kind of helps that little bit of extra flavor and smell that you get from the cocktail there. Yeah, and this is one of the classics, obviously, that is in its own little category. Like I don't think there's a lot of champagne type style cocktails on this list. But that even makes it, I think it makes it a little bit better that there is a cocktail like this on the list, because that means it's still a really good cocktail, and that it just tends to work, and still a lot of people order it. I must say, here at this bar, I don't think there's a lot of people that know of this cocktail, but that's mainly because just the popularity of this cocktail maybe hasn't just quite reached the Netherlands yet. Maybe it's stuck in France somewhere, I don't know. Yeah, and I think that's it for this week, guys. Make sure to leave a comment in the comment section of what you think is your favorite cocktail, if you tried this before, and what your opinion is on this one. Also, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel if you think we're doing a good job here. Yeah, and also make sure to stick around for the next to see which next video I've got planned for you guys. Yeah, and apart from that, I guess I'll see you guys next week. Ciao.